When life presses you down, when everything seems uncertain, when your heart is weary from fighting battles you cannot understand, there is one truth that will never fail you. Put everything in God's hand. Because when you place it all in God's hand, you are no longer carrying it in your own. You stop struggling against the storm and begin to move with the wind of divine power. You stop trying to fix what only heaven can heal. You stop depending on what is limited and begin to depend on the infinite. There is nothing more powerful, nothing more peaceful, nothing more liberating than surrendering every detail of your life into the mighty hands of God. So many people today are exhausted, not because their problems are too big, but because they are trying to hold everything by themselves. They are clutching fear, carrying burdens, gripping pain, and wondering why they cannot find rest. But the hands of God are stronger than your hands. The wisdom of God is higher than your understanding. The timing of God is more perfect than your planning. And the moment you release your grip, the moment you say, God, I place this in your hand, that is the moment divine peace enters your soul. When you put everything in God's hand, you are not giving up. You are rising up. You are rising to a higher level of trust, a higher dimension of faith, a higher awareness that your life is not random. Every delay, every disappointment, every closed door is part of a divine orchestration that you may not understand now. But one day you will see clearly. God never asks you to understand everything. He asks you to trust Him in everything. The human heart loves control. We want to decide when, how, and why things should happen. But control is an illusion when you walk with God. Because the truth is, you were never in control. You were only invited to trust. You were never the author of your story. You were only called to believe in the one who writes it. When you surrender your plans, your worries, your fears, your future, and even your pain into God's hands, something supernatural begins to happen. You start to experience freedom from within. God's hand is not a symbol, it is power. It is the invisible force that holds creation together, the unseen protection that shields you in moments when you should have fallen apart. Think about it. It was God's hand that lifted the broken, that opened seas, that shut the mouths of lions, that turned darkness into light. That same hand is stretched toward you today. The same hand that shaped the stars and spoke life into being is ready to hold your life with precision and purpose. Why would you try to manage life's storms when the one who controls the wind is waiting to take the helm? There is something profound that happens when a person decides once and for all to stop worrying and start trusting. You become untouchable by fear. You become unshaken by circumstances, because your confidence is no longer built on what is around you, but on who is within you. Every time you say, God, I give this to you, you are breaking the chains of anxiety and allowing divine peace to reign in your heart. You see, faith is not saying you believe in God while still clinging to control. Faith is releasing. Faith is letting go. Faith is walking forward with open hands, trusting that what leaves your hand never leaves God's. Many people pray, but few truly surrender. They speak words of trust, but deep inside, they still hold on. But when you truly place something in God's hand, you stop checking to see if it's still there. You stop doubting if He heard you. You stop replaying what you can't fix. You rest because you know the one holding it never fails. When you put everything in God's hand, you also put yourself in a position to see miracles. Because God does not move in the realm of control. He moves in the realm of surrender. The moment you release it, the supernatural begins to work. Doors that were sealed begin to open. People that were against you begin to lose power. Situations that made no sense suddenly start to align. That is the mystery of divine movement. It begins where human control ends. Some of you have been asking God for change, but you have not yet released what needs to be released. You want peace, but you are still holding the burden. You want progress, but you are still clinging to the past. You want clarity, but you are still trying to decide the outcome. You cannot hold both faith and fear in the same hand. One must go. And when you choose faith, you are choosing to put it all in God's hands. Look at your life right now. Every unanswered prayer, every fear, every waiting season, God is saying, will you trust me? Not halfway, not with conditions. Not only if things go your way, but completely. Because trust that is conditional is not trust. It is negotiation. And God does not negotiate with fear. He destroys it with power. When you put everything in God's hand, you are declaring that you believe He knows what is best, even when you don't. You are confessing that His way is higher, His timing is better, and His wisdom is perfect. You are stepping out of the limited realm of your own reasoning into the limitless realm of divine orchestration. You are saying, God, even when I don't understand, I know you are working. Even when I don't see it, I know you are moving. Even when I am weak, I know your strength is enough. There is something beautiful about watching God work after you've let go, because He never wastes your waiting. Every delay becomes divine preparation. Every hardship becomes holy shaping. Every loss becomes a hidden setup for something greater. But none of this can happen while your hand is closed. Can only feel what you are willing to release. That's why when people tell you to trust the process, they are only half right. Because the process has no power if the hand of God is not in it. You must trust the one who holds the process, not the process itself. You must fix your eyes on the hand that holds tomorrow, not the uncertainty of today. When you do that, you rise above the fear that once controlled you. You begin to walk in peace while others panic. You begin to smile in the storm because you know the storm is not your master. God is. Everything you are facing right now has already passed through the hand of God. Nothing touches you unless it is allowed by Him for your growth or protection. Even the things that broke you, He will use to build you. Even the pain that hurt you, He will use to shape you. Because God's hand not only holds your future, it molds your character. Every difficulty is a divine tool forming strength, humility and faith within you. When you truly put everything in God's hand, you begin to see life from a higher place. You stop reacting to the temporary and start trusting in the eternal. You stop letting emotions dictate your peace and start allowing divine truth to anchor your soul. This is the secret to an unshakable life. A heart that rests in God's will cannot be broken by man's actions. There is a quiet power that flows from full surrender, a deep calm that silences every storm, because the one who trusts in God does not fear what tomorrow brings. The one who rests in God's hand knows that whatever comes, God has already gone before it. So many people live in anxiety because they still believe they must control what only God can manage. They try to force outcomes, manipulate timing, and hold together what is already falling apart. But there is a sacred peace that comes when you say, God, I give it all to you. You are saying, I will not fight the current of your plan. I will let it carry me. You are saying, I may not see how this ends, but I know you have already written the ending. And that kind of faith, that deep, surrendered faith, opens the gates of divine favor. Because when your heart is no longer wrestling, your spirit becomes receptive. God cannot fill hands that are already full. You must empty yourself of fear, of pride, of control, so that His hand can shape, bless, and elevate you. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the wisdom of knowing that your understanding is limited, but God's is infinite. It is the strength of knowing that even in silence, God is speaking. Even in stillness, God is working. When you rest in that truth, you stop chasing after what is fading and start standing firm in what is eternal. Many people ask, how can I trust when I don't know what's next? The answer is simple. You trust because you know who holds what's next. You trust because you believe that God never loses control. You trust because every time you have fallen, His hand has lifted you again. Trust is not built on clarity, it is built on faith. You may not know the path, but you know the hand that guides you. You may not see the destination, but you know the one who created the map. When you place your journey in God's hand, even detours lead to destiny. There will be moments when it feels like everything is falling apart. When doors close, when friends turn away, when opportunities disappear, do not panic. Those are not signs of abandonment. They are signs of alignment. God removes what hinders your path so that He can replace it with what fulfills your purpose. Sometimes God will allow certain things to fall from your hand just to remind you that your hand is not the source, His is. He takes away only to give you what is greater. And though you may not understand it now, one day you will look back and thank Him for every no, every delay, every unanswered prayer. You see, when you put everything in God's hand, you are also putting yourself in a place of transformation, because surrender does not just change your circumstances, it changes you. It breaks your pride, strengthens your humility, and deepens your faith. It teaches you to live with open hands and a soft heart. It turns you into someone who no longer fears loss, because you have learned that what is meant for you will never pass you by. That is the confidence that comes from divine trust, knowing that nothing good can slip through God's fingers. There is a divine mystery in the way God works. Often, He will strip away your safety nets so that you can finally see that His hand has been holding you all along. He will close every door you're trying to force open until you turn to Him and say, I can't do this without you. And in that moment, when you finally let go, when your soul whispers, I surrender, the atmosphere of your life shifts. What you could not make happen in years, God can do in moments. Because when you give God complete control, miracles are no longer optional. They are inevitable. Putting everything in God's hand does not mean life will be free from trials. It means you will walk through them differently. You will no longer panic in uncertainty because you know the outcome belongs to Him. You will no longer fear failure because you know that even if you fall into His hands. You will no longer compare your journey to others because you trust that what God has written for you cannot be taken by anyone else. You will live with a stillness that cannot be shaken because your peace no longer depends on what happens around you, but on who reigns above you. There is no greater wisdom than knowing when to release control. Some hold on to people that God is trying to remove. Some hold on to plans that God is trying to redirect. Some hold on to pain that God is trying to heal. But healing begins the moment you release. When you finally open your hands, you make space for divine restoration. God cannot pour new blessings into hands that are clenched in bitterness, fear, or resistance. But when you say, God, I trust your timing, your will, and your purpose, you align your life with His flow, and what once felt like chaos begins to make sense under divine order. The truth is, every time you try to take control, you interrupt what God is doing. You delay what was meant to happen naturally. You interfere with divine timing. That is why peace often feels far away when you insist on your own way. But when you let go, when you put everything in His hand, life begins to flow again. You start to see how every delay was protection. You start to realize that every unanswered prayer was a hidden blessing. You start to feel that every loss was making room for something greater. Because God never withholds what is good. He only withholds what is not aligned with your divine purpose. Faith means trusting God's hand even when you cannot trace His movement. It means believing that He is guiding your steps even in darkness. It means knowing that every season, whether joyful or painful, is necessary for your growth. Nothing in your life is wasted when it is placed in God's hand. Every failure becomes wisdom. Every heartbreak becomes strength. Every waiting season becomes preparation. When you understand that, you stop asking why and start declaring, thank you, God, for choosing me for this lesson. Putting everything in God's hand also means surrendering your identity, your ego, your desire to prove yourself. Because when you live for human approval, you are always at the mercy of people's opinions. But when you live for God, you are free. You no longer chase validation. You stand in conviction. You no longer worry about who sees your worth. You know your worth is already secured in divine eyes. When your life is in God's hand, you no longer perform. You simply live, led by peace, guided by wisdom, and sustained by unseen grace. The more you trust God, the lighter life becomes. You stop trying to force things that were never meant to be. You stop arguing with people who are not part of your path. You stop panicking when things shift unexpectedly. Because you realize If it's in God's hand, it's safe. If it's in God's hand, it's guided. If it's in God's hand, it's already working for your good. You begin to move through life with quiet confidence. Not because you know the outcome, but because you trust the one who determines it. And here is the truth: the moment you let go is the moment you rise, because surrender is not defeat. It is alignment. It is saying, God, you lead, I will follow. And when you do that, your entire atmosphere begins to change. Your energy becomes peaceful. Your decisions become wise. Your heart becomes calm. And your mind becomes clear. You no longer act out of fear, because fear has no place where faith reigns. You no longer fight for control, because control has no meaning where God is already in charge. God's hand is not passive. It is alive, active, and all-powerful. It is the hand that lifts you when you have fallen, that shields you when you are attacked, that guides you when you are lost. It is the same hand that writes your destiny with precision, ensuring that every chapter of your life fulfills its divine purpose. So when you put everything in God's hand, you are not losing control. You are placing it in the safest, most powerful, and most loving control that exists. When you put everything in God's hand, you begin to understand that peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of divine control. Real peace does not come from having a perfect life. It comes from knowing a perfect God. You could be surrounded by storms and still have calmness in your heart when you know who holds the wind. You could be standing in uncertainty and still feel anchored when you know that every detail of your life rests in the palm of divine wisdom. This is the secret strength of those who walk with God. They may be shaken, but they are never shattered. They may cry, but they never collapse, because they know that nothing can fall apart when it is held together by the hand of God. Many people misunderstand surrender. They think surrender means giving up on effort, but surrender means giving effort a direction. It means that instead of working in your own strength, you allow your energy to flow with divine purpose. You still act, but you act in peace. You still plan, but you plan in faith. You still move, but you move under divine guidance. To put everything in God's hand does not mean you sit back and wait. It means you walk forward without fear, trusting that every step you take is already seen and guided from above. When you begin to live like this, you no longer measure success by outcomes. You measure it by obedience. You stop asking, did this go my way? And start asking, did I stay in God's way? Because when your decisions are led by the divine, even delays carry blessings. When you are in God's timing, even what looks like loss becomes gain. When you are in alignment with divine will, even confusion has meaning. This is why those who trust in God are never truly disappointed, because they understand that even when things don't go according to their plan, they are still going according to God's plan. There will be moments when God asks you to release what you love most. He will test your heart, not to break you, but to free you. He will remove attachments that have become idols. He will ask you to place your ambitions, your relationships, your reputation, your fears, all of it into His hand. And in that moment of surrender, Your soul is purified. You begin to realize that you were never meant to possess anything permanently. You were meant to be a steward of what belongs to God. The moment you give back to Him what was never truly yours, you are set free from the chains of attachment. Let me tell you something powerful. The hand of God is never late. You might think you have missed your opportunity, that your time is over, that what you hoped for will never come to pass. But God does not operate by human clocks. He is not bound by deadlines or pressured by seasons. His timing is precise because His wisdom is perfect. When you think it's too late, God says, I am just beginning. When you think it's over, God says, watch me make a way. You see, what is impossible for you is effortless for Him. What you struggle to understand, He has already written into your destiny. That is why putting everything in His hand is not a risk. It is the safest decision you will ever make. If only you knew how many things God has already saved you from. The accidents that never happened, the betrayals that were exposed, the failures that were redirected. Because His hand was upon you. You don't always see it, but every time you trust, He acts. Every time you let go, He moves. Every time you choose faith over fear, His unseen hand begins to align the details of your life in ways you could never imagine. You don't need to see it to believe it. Faith is believing that even in silence, God is speaking. Even in stillness, God is working. Even in confusion, God is guiding. Putting everything in God's hand also means accepting that not everything you desire is meant for you. Sometimes God will withhold something not because He is punishing you, but because He is protecting you. You might think a certain path or person is perfect, but God sees beyond what you can see. He knows what will destroy your peace, even if it looks beautiful right now. So when something doesn't go your way, instead of asking, why? God, start saying, thank you, God, for protecting me from what I cannot see. That is true faith. To trust divine wisdom, even when it contradicts human desire. The more you grow in faith, the more you understand that surrender is not a one-time act. It is a daily choice. Every morning you must wake up and say, God, I place this day in your hand. Every decision, every encounter, every challenge, you give it to Him before it even begins. When you live like this, anxiety loses its power because you no longer live from reaction, but from revelation. You stop living from fear of what could happen and start living in peace, knowing that whatever happens, God is already there. This is how divine peace works. It doesn't mean you have everything you want. It means you are content because you trust the one who gives and takes according to wisdom. It means you stop comparing your path to others because you know that your blessings are being customized by the hand of God. It means you no longer panic when doors close, because you know a closed door in your life is simply God saying, this way is not for you. And when you walk with God, you learn to thank Him for both the doors that open and the doors that close, because both are part of His divine protection. When you put everything in God's hand, you also begin to see how temporary everything else is. You stop clinging to material things as if they are eternal. You stop seeking validation from people who cannot add a single moment to your life. You stop fighting battles that are not worth your energy, because your focus shifts from earthly control to divine alignment. You begin to live with the awareness that everything you have, your health, your breath, your opportunities, are gifts on loan from God. And that awareness creates humility. It makes you more grateful, more patient, more peaceful. There is a divine rest that comes when you finally stop trying to force what is not meant to be. You realize that what God has prepared for you cannot be taken by anyone else. You realize that no human hand can block a door that God's hand has opened. You realize that no amount of effort can make something succeed if it's not in divine timing. When that truth settles deep into your spirit, you stop striving and start flowing. You stop chasing and start attracting, because everything that is yours will find you when your life is aligned with the will of God. The storms of life will still come. The winds will still blow. But when you have placed your life in God's hand, you will not be moved. The same waves that drown others will carry you higher. The same losses that break others will build you stronger, because you are not sustained by circumstances. You are sustained by faith. And faith built on God's power is unbreakable. Even when everything around you seems unstable, your spirit remains steady, because you know the foundation of your life is divine, not human. There will be days when you question the silence of God, when it feels like your prayers go unanswered, when it seems like nothing is changing. But silence does not mean absence. In the silence, God is preparing. In the stillness, God is positioning. In the waiting, God is strengthening your faith. What you call delay, He calls development. He is shaping you for what you have been asking for. Because sometimes the blessing is not ready for you. And sometimes you are not ready for the blessing. But when both align, divine timing manifests, and everything falls into place with perfect precision. So keep your heart steady. Keep your trust anchored. Keep your hands open. Do not rush what God is still preparing. Do not doubt what He has already promised. Do not fear what is beyond your control. Because the same hand that created the heavens, that paints every sunrise, that commands the seasons, that hand is holding your life with flawless care. Nothing is too heavy for Him, nothing too complex, nothing too late. When you give it all to God, you place your life in the safest, most capable hands in existence. And that is where your peace will live, not in perfect conditions, not in predictable plans, but in perfect trust, in knowing that every breath, every turn, every moment of your journey is already held, protected, and guided by the eternal hand of God. When you finally reach the place where your heart whispers, God, I put everything in your hand, something powerful happens within you. You step into a peace that cannot be disturbed by the noise of the world. You no longer chase after what is fleeting. You walk in alignment with what is eternal. You stop trying to understand every mystery and simply rest in the assurance that the one who formed you knows exactly where you are meant to be. That is the highest form of faith. Not seeing, not knowing, not controlling, but trusting completely. Putting everything in God's hand is not an act of weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. It takes courage to release what you love. It takes faith to wait when you do not understand. It takes humility to say, God, not my will, but yours. Yet that is where miracles are born, in surrender. Because the moment you let go, you make space for divine power to flow freely in your life. You make room for blessings that your own strength could never produce. You invite peace to replace panic, wisdom to replace confusion, and strength to replace fear. You must understand, life will always have moments that test your faith. There will be seasons of silence, moments of loss, and days when nothing makes sense. But when your life is in God's hand, you never walk those valleys alone. His unseen guidance will carry you through places that would have destroyed others. His divine timing will restore everything that was taken. His protection will cover you in ways you may never even realize. Every challenge becomes a chapter of growth. Every trial becomes a doorway to transformation. So, do not fear the unknown. Do not be anxious about what is ahead. The same hand that lifted you before will lift you again. The same wisdom that guided you through yesterday will guide you through tomorrow. The same love that sustained you through storms will sustain you through calm. Every day, remind yourself, I do not need to know how everything will unfold. I only need to know who holds it all. And that knowledge, that deep, unwavering trust, is what turns ordinary faith into extraordinary peace. When you put everything in God's hand, your heart begins to glow with quiet strength. You begin to speak differently, walk differently, live differently. You stop living in fear and start living in freedom. You no longer chase after control, you rest in surrender. You stop begging for certainty and start embracing divine mystery. Because you have learned the greatest truth of all, that the hand of God never fails. It never drops what it holds. It never forgets what it protects. It never delays what it promises. So today, wherever you are, lift your burdens, your dreams, your pain, your fears, and place them into that mighty, merciful hand. Say it from your soul. God, I trust you with everything. Then breathe deeply and let peace wash over you. Because once it's in God's hand, it's already handled. Once it's in God's hand, it's already protected. Once it's in God's hand, it's already working for your good. That is the power of true surrender. To live each day with open hands and a trusting heart, knowing that you are not carrying life alone. You are being carried by the same divine hand that holds the universe together. And when your life is held there, you can walk through any storm with peace, any trial with strength, and any darkness with unwavering light, because everything, absolutely everything, is in the hand of God.